is Force 13 Live. Latest information on what is now Hurricane Barry, according to the National Hurricane Center. We're not quite sure how. I'm going to let the team talk for a while to see if they can get to the bottom of what's going on. Who'd like to go first?
Well, it's not like really surprising that they did it. I'm kind of surprised that they did it like right now. I would have thought they would have done it like overnight or something.
Well, looking out for the forecast discussion, they're noting that I think some of the reasons why they upgraded to a hurricane is because between 11 and 12Z, National Oceanic NOAA station in Eugene Island, Louisiana, reported sustained winds of 62 knots and a peak gust of 74 knots at an elevation of about 10 meters, which is about 33 feet. And they're also coming to their conclusion. They're also coming to their conclusion by using the Slidell radar, because that suggested 65 to 60 knot winds from using that radar. And then reconnaissance suggested winds of about 60 to 63 knots near Eugene Island as well. And those factors are some of what led to them upgrading it to a hurricane at this time, from what I'm seeing so far.
In another piece of breaking news, the experimental ATCF has now put Barry over land. It has made landfall at this hour as well.
Well, makes landfall just as it gets to hurricane status. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that they made the upgrade, if you want the full truth, is because it's a very borderline case, and with it being so borderline, they may as well do it because, number one, it's not going to make much of a difference in there's not much of a difference in wind speed, so it's not too far-fetched. Number two, their forecast verifies. Number three, well, their forecast verifies. And number four, their forecast verifies.
And number five, there's hurricane warnings in effect.
So it's... I think you understand where I'm coming from with a part of the reason that it's a hurricane.
So that is the latest information. Just to remind you, a tropical storm warning has been issued for the Louisiana coast from Cameron to Sabine Pass.
Yeah, that is interesting because it looks like the tropical storm force winds are extending that far west now, all the way to the Louisiana-Texas border, according to their latest cone.
In the grand scheme of things, when it comes to land impacts, not much has really changed. It's still a stage 5 on the CDPS scale, which is potentially devastating. The rainfall could reach 15 to 20 inches in some areas. That's on top of what we've already seen. And storm surge could reach 6 feet across set parts of central Louisiana. They could all cause, potentially, devastating damage. The wind speed will probably not be such a big event, although there is a wide tropical storm field, especially on the eastern side.
Yeah.
If you've got any comments or questions for us whilst we're on the air, send a message to onto our chat section. Start your message with Force 13 all in text, just like several people have done just now. And if you have any questions that we'll take, we might take them whilst we continue to update all of these graphics here, because it's an absolute mess over here in the studio. Cooper, what do you think?
Well, I'm honestly rather surprised that Barry has become a hurricane just so soon and at such the last minute. And now that it is one, it's probably not going to be one for much longer. But severe impacts are still likely, and regardless of how much Barry weakens as it moves inland, it's going to be producing a lot of rainfall and continued storm surge as it progresses inland. And this could prove devastating to areas, especially coastal and riverside areas, which are already experiencing inundation.
Indeed. Just how bad is it on the ground at the moment, do we know?
I'm seeing a lot of flood warnings.
Yes. Of course, we had Nelson on the air overnight. He wasn't really talking about any inclement conditions at his place, was he, Thomas?
No, and that's because he didn't really have it. It was.
I mean, we are going to be talking places like Morgan City, who I believe a lot of it is without power now. Lafayette, and possibly towards the west.
Yeah, I still find it intriguing that the NHC went with a hurricane upgrade, but with the hurricane upgrade, I mean it's not that far fetched, and I fully support a peak intensity at 75 miles per hour. I just think it should have been done a couple advisories ago, but we'll see. What post analysis brings?
Assuming that the experimental ATCF is correct, that puts the storm... then again, it might have just gone with the National Hurricane Center information, actually. Just checking this out. Yes, so it has gone with the National Hurricane Center position. So it is 30 miles from New Iberia, 27 from Abbeville, 44 from Lafayette, 53 from Morgan City. It will probably start drawing away from there now. 85 miles from Lake Charles, 121 from Alexandria. And as you can see on the left-hand side, that is all up to date now as we watch that projected track. Obviously, it won't be a hurricane all the way inland like that. It's just a visualization of where the track of the storm will go. It probably won't hold hurricane status even for 6 hours.
No, yeah, I think at their intermediate advisory at 1 p.m. Central Time, it's safe to say that it's going to be inland by that time, I think. Would I be right in saying that?
Well, it's sort of inland already.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's sort of inland already, so 3 hours from now. So, yeah, and it's probably not going to be a hurricane by then.
And convection is just gradually fizzling away. I mean, it's just, it's still, don't get me wrong, this is still going to be a big rainmaker, but the strength of this is starting to fall off.
Certainly appears to be the case. I'm not sure if I've got any recent imagery here, so let's go back to Thomas's screen. Looking at that.
Refresh this real quick so that way we can look at.
Looking at that loop again. Any more information on Recon is a question.
Well, looks like they've gone into the center, wherever it's at. Looks like they've gone into it because the winds have dramatically decreased. The highest the highest SFMR that they've recorded so far that's non-suspect seems to be about 64 or 63 knots or so, 10 second wind.
Oh, it's very close.
So yeah, but yeah, it looks like they're getting to the center, as it were, right now. So we'll see what pressures they get.
I mean, when I take a look at potential suspect readings, there is a hurricane force one that is suspect. But I wouldn't be surprised, even if that is suspect, that did actually occur, just because of where the storm was at that time and how much the pressure is just really fallen off by that point. How it had gone down. So.
Yeah, well, that is the latest news. If you've missed it, 10 minutes ago, the National Hurricane Center upgraded Barry to the first hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season and the 4th hurricane to make landfall in Louisiana in the month of July. That is official according to the National Hurricane Center. So it has made landfall. It will start to move inland now, according to the National Hurricane Center at least, and I'm not really inclined to disagree anymore with that, to be honest. I think that's about right.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
So it's going to shuffle on
I'd agree as
inland
well.
and deliver quite copious amounts of rain to some areas there. Central Louisiana could see 15 inches. And that means we're going to finish our coverage at the end of this hour, because we function best here at Force 13 Main, at least, as an early warning service rather than an on-the-ground updates kind of thing. So we sort of feel a little bit surplus by the time a storm makes landfall. I'm not sure whether Force 13 US will be taking up coverage. I know that Tim will be there later this evening, but you might want to subscribe to them as well if you want more updates later on. You can search Force 13 US, all in text, or make it even easier, you could go to our channel page here and just add US on the end of the URL next to Force 13. It'll take you right the way there. Great. So, Barry, with winds of 75 miles an hour, pressure of 993, have they found any lower pressures in the recon plane?
The lowest I'm seeing is 999 so far.
999.
I saw 996, but that was probably about an hour.
I see.
The highest rainfall we're expecting in any main population center right now is Baton Rouge at 9 inches of further rain, but some smaller areas could get up to 15 inches.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because again, now that this is officially a hurricane, which I'm at the point that this is a very borderline case, and I don't exactly disagree. But I think there was more evidence before, but I think there's enough now to support either way you'd go.
That's no good.
I mean, it's a 5 mile an hour difference. I mean, you can say extrapolated from 2 points that there'd be stronger winds, because on recon there are stronger winds between two surface observation centers, one in the water and one on land. And if you extrapolated that, you could say, hey, this is a hurricane. I mean, you had 70 mile an hour winds at both stations, and you could say, okay, it gets up to 75 in between. But then on the other hand, there's radar didn't say it got up to hurricane. Recon didn't have any extrapolated down to the surface readings that weren't suspect that said it was a hurricane. You have the satellite appearance, which is waning significantly. I mean, I feel like there's stuff on both sides of the coin, if you will.
All right. Does anyone happen to have accumulated rainfall radar right now? They do offer them in most of the National Weather Service radars.
I can get that.
There was a question about how much rain has fallen. I think it was in Mobile.
Mobile, Alabama. All right, let me get that.
And I'd like to know too. So.
Well, let's see. Gotta find.
We're looking at Isaac's projection right now. What are we looking at here on these two screens?
Oh, I forgot I had it on. This is the satellite, visible satellite, and I'm looking at a radar here. I know it's really hard to see it, so I know it's really blurry and all that. But I'm seeing rainfall accumulations of about 5 up to 6 or 7 inches or so, and some isolated spots, but most of them are out to sea. On looking at the New Orleans radar, looks like Mobile got some accumulations here of about 3 inches or so, give or take, and then near Gulfport looks like accumulations of about 4, maybe 5 inches or so on radar. I was just looking at that, but I think Thomas is the radar, so it's a lot better than mine.
Yeah, I'm looking at a different radar. I'm looking at the Mobile radar. It's just to the west of Mobile, but I think it's about the same. It's showing rain accumulation city of downtown Mobile, about an inch. But if you go to the east, you'll see some 2.5 to 3, and even some 4-inch markers in some metro city. There, you'll notice over water accumulations over 5 inches. Sporadically, I think, pop up. I know. Yeah, there we go. That 5.9, maybe even 6 inches in there. But that's over water. As soon as it goes over land, not quite as much, but still a good amount of rain in Mobile. We can actually check out some other radar sites real quick. We think that'd be a good idea. Because here's from the New Orleans side of things, how things are looking. There are some very potent rain bands that have moved through New Orleans right now to about 0.6 of an inch in total accumulation. So about 2 inches or so in this more intense line. Probably,
is that storm total or
relatively recently?
Or what?
That's storm total.
All right. Well, we did
How
see
far
those
back
bands
does that
move
go?
through last night, didn't we?
Yeah. Storm total is just, I'm pretty sure it's well over 24 hours. Couldn't tell you for sure. And then we can go to the Lake Charles radar and just, the sharp, I guess, falling off of rain accumulations as you head over, farther and farther west. So there we go. There are your rain totals. At least according to radar, I can look at some rain gauges and see what I can find.
We are just sorting things out here at the moment.
I'm looking at a graphic from the National Weather Service in New Orleans, and it's showing rainfall in the last 24 hours towards the east, towards Pascagoula, of around, I think, 2 to 5 inches or so, maybe up to 3 inches. Then it looks like near Homa, rainfall totals of about 2 inches or so in the last 24 hours, give or take. I don't know if you're able to pull up my screen. I know it's not the best representation, but it's the best I could do without
Just a moment.
my Discord
Here we
crashing.
go.
Yeah, you can see most of the heavy rainfall totals towards the east. Again, this is for the last 24 hours. This is not over the last
Nelson
5 days or
tells
so.
us
This is the last
that
24
he's
hours.
reported 0.5 inches since midnight.
Yeah, he lives around, I think, just west of downtown New Orleans or something like that. I'm not too familiar with that area, of course, just I don't live there. But rainfall totals are about 2 inches or so. It looks like to the northeast of Homa in the last 24 hours. And then also in the last 24 hours, some beefy rainfall totals near Gulfport and Pascagoula of around 2 inches plus. And some spots up to 3 inches there on one of the islands there that I can't, for the life of me, remember the name of. Right there, little dot of red. But again, that's from the last 24 hours of rainfall. Just wanted to say that.
Thomas is showing us a warning map, and it's good to remind people what warnings we have in effect right now.
Yeah, and we honestly have quite a few. The National Hurricane Center does an excellent job when it does come to their warning system, and I'm totally not stalling for time as I pull up the warning location. There we go. So here are the current watches and warnings that are in effect. We have hurricane warning that's in effect for Intercoastal City to Grand Isle, tropical storm warning in effect for the mouth of the Pearl River to Grand. We also have one for Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Nervous, including the metropolitan New Orleans. And then we also have a tropical storm warning in effect for Intercoastal City to Tel Aviv. A storm surge warning is in effect for Intercoastal City to Biloxi, and Lake Pontchartrain also in a storm surge. A storm surge watch is in effect for Biloxi to the Mississippi-Alabama border, and a hurricane watch is in effect for Intercoastal City.
And then you look at all of those green areas which are flood-related watches and warnings. Are they flash flood watches or flood warnings? I'm struggling to get the context of that coloring.
So these are flash flood watches that you're seeing on the screen, and it really just shows you where the threat for very heavy rainfall that could cause very sudden could possibly occur. So we'll see. It's very it's kind of it's not surprising. I'm a little surprised that it's not slight farther west at this point. Although it looks like this has just slowly been extending eastward with time. The entire state of Mississippi is currently in a flash flood watch, which can really, I guess, just show you how much rain is truly expected to fall. So it's going to be quite a bit of rain over the next few days there.
Yep. I'm looking at recon and oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. Go ahead. Your turn.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at recon and so far, at least flight level wise, the lowest pressures that I'm seeing are 998. But it could be a little bit lower than that at the surface, I want to say. So looks like high 990s.
Questions here. Likelihood that the storm will shift more to the east coast. There's a huge chunk of land in the way first. So I don't think it will be in anything by the time it gets to the east coast, although one or two models did suggest it might regenerate after leaving the east coast.
The Euro, last I checked, is the only model on board with that still. I'm not sure if it's still on board with that. Let's see.
More questions.
Euro is not on board, but that's because of how far north.
What was that?
Probably a phone of some
car horn.
Phone vibrations there. More questions. How long do you expect Barry to be a hurricane? Well, as we said, not very long at all.
Yeah, maybe like not even 3. By the next intermediate advisory, it will not be a hurricane. I don't think. I'd be surprised if it was.
All right, drop sound data just came in, and oh wait, no, that's not drop sound. That's actually from the previous one. I'm sorry, it's a little bit. My mind's a little scrambled right now, but I was just looking at the earlier drop sound of 986. The new one hasn't come in yet. It was just like in the same general reason as the last one.
Let's see if there's anything else we can get from the latest National Hurricane Center advisory. Just in case anyone's wondering, wind speed probabilities for the following locations. I'm going to read out the percentages, the numbers. Mobile, Alabama 4%, Gulfport 5, Stennis 7, Burra 6, Jackson 8, New Orleans 43, Baton Rouge 98, Morgan City 99, Alexandria 93 now, Lafayette 99, New Iberia 99, pretty much 100, Shreveport 32, Fort Polk 89, Lake Charles 97, Cameron 99, Jasper, Texas 44. I think it's I don't want to get this pronunciation wrong. Kountze in Texas. How do you say that?
I do not know how to say that.
Okay, 23%.
Never even heard of it.
Port Arthur 45%, Galveston 5, Houston 4, Freeport 3, High Island 11. And chance of hurricane force winds is 60% in Lafayette and 74% in New Iberia. And believe it or not, a 1 in 4 chance, 25% in Alexandria, which is well inland.
Interesting how they have such high chances for inland areas.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
the thing is, this...
I know what argument you're about to make, Thomas, but I just, it barely has hurricane force winds. If it does, surely it can't last.
Yeah. So what do you think the argument I was about to make was?
You were going to make the "it's going to weaken slowly" argument.
Well, yeah, because it's going to. It'll speed up after it goes well inland, but at least at first it has marshland right at landfall. By the time it would get to Alexandria, the National Hurricane Center is still forecasting a tropical storm.
Are you suggesting if it moves slowly, it could still be a hurricane in 6 hours?
No, it's weakening at this point. I don't think it'll be a hurricane in 6 hours. I mean, it's not impossible, especially if it gets one or two more convective flows. But at this point, I think it's pretty unlikely.
All right. Any other comments from the team? Ryan, you've been fairly quiet recently.
Well, I don't really have much more to say since Barry, basically, I think we can say that it has made landfall at
Do you
this
think it
point.
could threaten your area in any way, shape, or form? Or even your state?
That's actually a good question. I'd have to look at the NHC's 5-day. Does anyone have that?
Well, it doesn't extend very far. I mean,
No,
it's probably better to look at their rainfall potential graphic.
And the rainfall potential. Okay. Well, let's see what the. Does anyone have the rainfall? The WPC graphic.
I could post it to you.
Thomas is showing it here.
Well,
there's the excessive rainfall outlook for today. If you want direct
That's
rain
the excessive. No, like direct rain accumulations. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'd get much.
And this is something that we ought to point out as well. All that orange area, is that 6 inches there?
Yeah, 6 inches.
So that is a large area of 6 inches there. How will that affect the Mississippi Valley region? Because I don't know the area really, but logic dictates to me that that might cause some serious problems.
Well, it's gonna flood. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. It's gonna.
Yeah. Okay. I don't.
The Mississippi, and it's very high already on the river flood gauge, and it's forecasted to actually be historically high on multiple occasions.
Yeah. Okay. I do not expect any impacts from Barry in my area. I could get some clouds, but nothing more than that.
Pretty much what I've been getting.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Sorry.
And that'd be like midweek. That'd be like Wednesday, if that were to Wednesday, Thursday, if that were to happen.
We're taking a short break here at Force 13 HQ. We'll be back with the final half hour of coverage on our channel for the time being, at least. Of course, there's plenty of videos that go out in the meantime on our channel too. This is our 19th and final hour of consecutive coverage here on Force 13 Live. Stay tuned for the last part. That should say 4 now. We haven't updated that yet. Making its infamous landfall, Hurricane Michael is still a Category 3 as it enters the state of Georgia. This is Force 13 Live. We are tracking Hurricane Barry, which was given that upgrade by the National Hurricane Center at the start of this hour. This is the final half hour of our coverage because Barry has also made landfall in the process on Marsh Island, Louisiana. And then after that, of course, we will provide regular updates beyond that on the Force 13 channel in the standard format. Of course, our live streaming events occur when there is a real danger and when we feel obliged or feel that our information gets out better when we are live on the air. Alright, we are still joined by Cooper, Isaac, and Thomas.
Hello.
We haven't heard from Cooper in a while. Any new developments? Any thoughts at your end?
Well, earlier I was looking at a special warning over the Mobile Bay for a shower capable of producing water spouts, but that's set to expire within the next 12 minutes or so.
Okay. We are also, of course, on the lookout for any severe weather warnings like tornadoes or flash flooding. Nothing of the sort at the minute. That might change when the bulk of the convection, what's left of the convection from this storm, moves inland. Thomas, could we switch back to satellite imagery?
Yes. There you go.
And that's the latest look at the satellite in Barry. It's a big lump. It's a mess.
Well, it's always been a mess. It wasn't a mess for maybe 4 hours, if I'm being generous.
There is a decent case for hurricane status overnight, early hours of this morning.
Yeah. If they're saying, the problem is, if they're saying that this is a hurricane, then there are a lot of other storms that come to mind. Should not be hurricane.
Well,
It would be, just judging satellite appearance. If observations deem it, then I guess it's true. But, I don't know. I mean, I honestly think it might just be a hurricane for the sake of forecast verification, since it was so borderline. Forecast verifies.
very
and
cynical of you.
Well, but I mean, am I wrong?
We've just had a comment here saying it looks like a chicken.
Personally, I want to agree, but it does look rather disorganized.
It looks like a chicken. Oh, I see it. I see it. I see what they're referring to.
Sorry. It's an outrageous comment. This is a serious situation. Hurricane warnings are still in effect. Let's reiterate those warnings right now. So, a hurricane warning is in effect for Intracoastal City to Grand Isle, a tropical storm warning for the mouth of the Pearl River to Grand Isle, and Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Maury including metropolitan New Orleans, and Intracoastal City to Sabine Pass. A storm surge warning for Intracoastal City to Biloxi, Mississippi, and Lake Pontchartrain. A storm surge watch for Biloxi to the Mississippi-Alabama border. I'm sorry. This is very unprofessional of me. I'm still getting over that comment. And a hurricane watch for Intracoastal City to Cameron. I thought I'd made it all the way through that then. Alright, let's move on. I mean, we're looking at that convection now, and it's all along the shore, just out at sea still. When is it actually going to move inland with those high cloud tops?
So the thing is that what was expected is what's going on. The convection is displaced to the southeast of the center of circulation because it's being sheared so much right now. And what's going to happen is, as this is taken north, convection is resisting at the moment, but will likely be following suit here relatively soon. And with that will also probably strengthen a little bit as it approaches shore, since it's not losing energy because it's competing with two different steering flows. It's still trying to follow southerly flow while the center is trying to drag it northward, and it's kind of meaning that energy is more being used to try and drag it one way or the other than to produce more convection.
so interesting and odd how that is the case. It has been dragged around from pillar to post in almost all directions during its life.
Yeah. It is quite interesting to see, that's for sure.
Can we remember where the first forecast graphic from the National Hurricane Center projected the landfall?
I believe it was right about where it's. I think it was slightly further east.
Grand Isle, I think, was the furthest east we ended up putting our projected landfall.
Yeah, the first cone was a little farther east than where it is now.
And then you've got that other little flare up to the southwest, which looks better than the main part of the storm.
Yeah.
Certainly with higher cloud tops at this time.
I don't know if you guys are noticing this on radar. But it looks like that main mesovortice vortice or whatever we've been tracking for the past 2 hours.
Dear.
Looks like it's heading southwest now. Maybe trying to like get itself organized, or maybe trying to go more to the west or southwest here. But then again, this I don't know if this is the actual circulation or a mesovortice.
There.
Is it the main circulation? I think it is.
I mean, if you go to the end of that loop, it would make sense that, or maybe it's pivoting around the circulation, which is just to the southeast on those last frames.
And here's the NHC's first cone on the storm, and it's really interesting.
Oh, wow. Way west.
Of the cone, and you can see it here. Really in this loop, and you can see the evolution of the cone with time. You can see where it is now, but you can see the gradual easterly trend at first before a shift slightly farther west occurred.
There it is. That's great. Back on that radar imagery there, and some green areas entering not too far from New Orleans there. But as you can see, the main bulk of the storm is still some distance offshore.
Yeah, the sensor's right around here, and in those frames it was going like that, and then it looped. It was like it's trying to loop more to the southwest, or maybe trying to complete a circle here in the radar. It's hard to say, but if it is trying to go back out to sea, that'll be quite something to see. But I'm also noticing I'm seeing a lot more greens and lighter blues than I did earlier in the loop when it was just starting. So it could be trying to fire some cloud cover of some sort over the sensor, whatever exactly it is at this point.
And just a message, just to remind people, we do think it has made landfall. The National Hurricane Center, have they explicitly said that? I don't think so. Although by definition, the coordinates when you plug them in is squarely over Marsh Island, so I guess by definition, you've got to say that it has made landfall. They didn't actually explicitly say that, but it is the case that Barry has made landfall pretty much at the top of this hour. Just when it became a hurricane officially. And Nelson on the ground there now tells us that it is raining in New Orleans with a rain rate of 0.35 inches per hour.
Yeah, this is the Lake Charles radar, so it's not gonna really pick up the rain over in New Orleans, but definitely looks like it could be. Definitely to know, according to Nelson. Let me see if I could pull up that radar really quick. I think I have it somewhere here. Hold on. Yep, there it is.
Oh, that's now?
Yeah, this is the New Orleans. Yeah, this is the New Orleans radar.
So there's a plume of significant showers and possible thunderstorms there pushing through.
There you go. There's the loop again. Yeah, a lot of convection.
Now, I'm
Most
not
looks to be
fully
situated
versed
to
with
the
the
east.
not fully versed with the coloring here. Like, what would a severe thunderstorm look like on this graphic?
Probably about the same as it, just a tiny bit cooler in terms of radar. Probably maybe a orangey color, like a orangey red color.
Like, there's a few reds on the screen there, but none of those are severe thunderstorms.
Well, the key is up there.
Oh, it was just
Yeah.
The rainfall rate is what
Ah.
this radar depicts. The severity of a thunderstorm is not determined by rainfall. There are some severe thunderstorms we've seen that you can barely actually see on radar from reflectivity, but are producing strong enough winds and maybe enough hail at the upper level of the storm structure to allow it to become severe. So unfortunately, it's kind of difficult to tell if a storm's severe or not because there's no definitive look to look for, especially in a hurricane like this one. It's a little easier when you have things like supercells to determine which storms are severe and which ones are not. But in this case, it can be a little more.
Exactly. That's took the words out of my mouth there. Exactly. Yeah. But this is the New Orleans radar at the time being.
and there
can
they
see
go.
most
They're
of the
all pushing
rainfalls.
through right now. We'll keep our eye on that too, but nothing severe at the moment to report. This is Force 13 Live. We're here for another 15 minutes before we finish our coverage, which has been going for 19 hours. So start your message with Force 13 all in text. We'll take pretty much all kinds of questions for this last period of our stream here. Let's go back to Isaac's, not Isaac, but Thomas's satellite imagery with the latest there, and any change, anything that we can tell from that satellite right now? Not really.
No, other than we're starting to see a new convective flip.
Yeah.
Right around here, begin just at the end.
There.
And that could fan out a little bit and produce some higher tops
and this
for a
is
little
how
while.
that original one that made Barry the hurricane that it is today, the original one from about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock this morning, that's when it was really blowing up, and it started just like that one that we've just seen initiate in the last few minutes.
Yeah, you'll notice this one down here, though, that started to do that, and then it just has kind of fanned out and has already started to die off. So this could do the same, but it also could be the beginnings of some much heavier rain on the southern side as this shifts east, and all the moisture here shifts east. You can kind of see an axis, this very well-defined boundary, actually, between the dry air mass in the front and the moist air mass. And what's going to happen is with time, as the front moves northward, it's going to kind of gradually shift the axis of the dry air to wet air green, really more vertically. So this will gradually become more of a easterly bias convection instead of a southeasterly bias convection.
So there it is, and don't forget, storm surge values from this storm could reach 6 feet in some parts of central Louisiana, with rainfall still expecting isolated amounts of 20 inches. What was the maximum rainfall recorded so far, did you say, on land? Fives?
I believe so. It was about 4 or 5 inches. That's using storm total rainfall.
So we could still see potentially 25 inches in 1 or 2 spots. Probably not. I think we're looking at maximums of 20 now. It's still a lot of rain, almost 2 feet.
Yeah, and flooding is still going to be a big concern. The National Weather Service still flash flood watches in effect for numerous areas. I mean, if I turn off the hurricane and tropical storm warnings that you see here, It really does just show you the sheer size of the flash flood watch area. And you can see it's very, very large here. The entire state of Mississippi is within the flash flood watch. The eastern 2/3 to 3/4 of Louisiana is within, and now the eastern half really of Arkansas. So the flooding threat continues to increase in aerial coverage of where flooding could occur.
And even westernmost Tennessee there as well.
And also within flood watches.
And the remnants will be tracking almost directly over your place, Thomas.
Pretty much, yeah. It'll be well on its way. And it may not dissipate by the time it gets have completely dissipated. It'll be a post-tropical cyclone, that's for sure. But it's still probably going to bring me maybe a few showers. It's really going to be to my south where the most rainfall occurs.
Indeed. All right.
We do have a question in the chat asking, what is Barry's current pressure and winds? I think it's 75,993.
Yes, that is what the National Hurricane Center went with. So they went from 70 miles an hour and 991 to 75 miles an hour and 993. So it has become shallower, yet it's strengthened.
Let's see here, I'm taking a look at these latest few frames, and it looks like that convective burst is going to start fanning out relatively soon. The question is whether it's going to die off or it's going to really begin to build another big convective envelope, because quite simply this one's died.
Yes.
So we'll see if more convection.
I'm looking right now at a strong thunderstorm that's being warned upon over, let's see here, I believe. Yeah, it's over Marion County in Mississippi. It's associated with, seems to be an outer band. So I'm not sure if this will intensify further or not, but something to note.
We're just looking at Isaac's imagery now as well.
Yeah, you can see. I was looking at it on radar. Yeah, there was. It had a special marine warning earlier, but that's since been discontinued. But yeah, you can see the line heading into, well, right over rather Mobile. Looks like it's heading. Well, actually, I don't know if it'll head for, but it's near Pensacola at this time.
Is it?
I haven't. I don't know the. Yeah. It looks like it's moving. It's trying to move to Pensacola, but I think it's moving more north, I would say. I don't know.
So you're looking at that edge there?
Yeah, this edge right here.
Yep.
If you can see my mouse. I mean, it could go over to Pensacola. It's hard to say. It looks like it's moving more north than anything than east. But what do I know? But certainly interesting. Going back to New Orleans radar, you could see some rain starting to really pick up towards western New Orleans there.
Yeah.
And into Houma.
A few blow-ups going on there, by the looks of things.
I know we only have about 10 minutes left of coverage, so just a reminder to people in the chat, if you have a question, tag Force13, just type at Force13, I'm all in, and it'll light it up for us, and we'll be more than glad to answer your questions as we will be going off the air soon. So please ask your question before we go off the air. We'd be more than glad to answer.
Yep.
I'm just checking some more things right now. The imagery is having difficulty at the minute, it would appear.
Let's see if my imagery can be of any use. I've just refreshed it.
There's that flare up again, and we still haven't seen much more of that.
No. All right. We do have a couple of questions. First one being, how much rain is Baton Rouge going? Long story short,
We're
it's going to
projecting
be a lot.
We're projecting a further 9 inches here.
And then another question: if the other convection somehow develops into something, would that mean it would be called Berry 2? I don't think that there's going to be a secondary. I don't think that there'll be a there will be a secondary circulation that develops here. I don't think it'll develop into something. But if it were to somehow develop into something, yeah, I mean it's a different center. I'm not sure. It depends on if it would develop over Barry's current center or not.
Yeah.
It's looking very poor right now, though.
Yeah, it really
Definitely
is.
By the minute. There's an interesting line developing along the coast of, well, near the landfall zone, actually.
Yeah. And that's because of that boundary between the dry and wet air. So it's kind of like it's a trigger for thunderstorm development. This front is starting to trigger moisture and storms. So as the front moves in, the dry air moves in. This is a dry line, and that's going to the warm, moist air to rise over. And because of that, condensation occurs, and therefore we see lines like this.
I'm noticing the northern side of the circulation that the convection is starting to become a little bit more fragmented.
Yeah, and I think that convection here is just generally going to go downhill. I'm not sure how much convection there is on the northern side of the circulation itself at this point.
Well, it would appear to be none.
Yeah, it looks like absolutely none. I mean, this is strange because it's a hurricane with no northern convection.
It's like the exact opposite of what you would expect for a seared hurricane. Usually they're kind of seared to the north, but this one's like the opposite. It's most of the rain and everything's to the south and southeast.
So it looks like we're going to be ending today's stream on a note of incredulity and bafflement.
Yeah. I mean, it's... Barry's going to be one for the books when it comes to its track, its development, and I think it's a reminder, as a lot of storms have been this year, that there are unexpected and different ways that tropical cyclones can develop. It's not exact science. And if I'm not mistaken, I feel like a lot of tropical cyclones this year have been harder to forecast than normal.
Give it as a challenge.
Would I be correct in saying that?
Which
Some
examples?
of these have been a little bit more difficult. In particular, this environment.
Vayu. That was a pretty crazy one as well.
Vayu is pretty challenging.
But these are challenging parts of the world. You talk about the Southwest Indian Ocean, that's usually not too difficult. Generally, places out at sea aren't too difficult to forecast. Does tend to be places closer to land, and especially at a little bit higher latitude, like these. And Vayu must have been around 20 north, right? At least.
Yeah.
And this is near 30 north.
I just wanted to mention really quickly, Recon is going into the stronger winds again, and they're finding so far 10-second sustained wind, 10-second winds from the surface at 60 knots.
Oh.
So.
Well then.
Just something to note.
Interesting.
Oh dear. that pretty much concludes our coverage for the time being. We are really pleased that you joined us here on Force 13 Live at some point in the last 19 hours. We hope that we have produced an excellent service. We are definitely doing our best, and we have been, a lot of our team members have been working very diligently. There's been a huge amount of dedication by some of our members through the night and into the early hours of this morning. We've been here covering the latest on Barry. But it is time to finish now. Barry has made landfall. It has reached hurricane status as it's done so, but that's pretty much the landfall. That is sort of when we reach the end of our useful ability here on our live streams. There will be more regular updates on the way on Force 13's YouTube channel, and the Force 13 US team might be taking part in some activities later on today as well. You can find them by searching Force 13 US. All of our regional channels are linked on our main channel's YouTube page. For now, it's time to let you go, and we'll see you again soon at some point whenever the next storm comes knocking. Stay tuned for the latest on our YouTube and on our social outlets. For now, stay safe out there. That's all from us. We'll see you again soon. Good night. Good day. Almost good night here.